Hello, everyone. It's me again. And today I'll be talking about a different kind of what if. It's about a show from my childhood. Even though I didn't see every single episode, I have seen some of the episodes, and I'm currently on rewatch, though I'm taking a break. It's Iron Man Armored Adventures. Yeah. This was before I got into the MCU. This was back when I was new to Marvel. This was one of the few shows that introduced me to Marvel aside from shows like Spider-Man the Animated Series and Spectacular Spider-Man. Though I prefer Spectacular more. Because I guess with Spectacular, I've seen more of that show than the animated series, so there's that. But today's video will be what if Captain America was in Iron Man Armored Adventures. And because today is the 4th of July, I felt like it was appropriate to release this video. Now, I know some of you would say that Captain America already exists in the show's universe. Yes, I know. But I'm talking about, what if they made an episode dedicated to Captain America teaming up with Iron Man, more specifically, to put it lightly. So, Captain America's history in the show is accurate to the comics, where he was once a hero in World War II and then he was frozen in ice. That's all similar. Now, by the time we would have gotten to the present day storyline, I'd say after season 2 at best, Captain America would be thawed out and would be roaming in the present day. But much like in the MCU, he would need to adjust, especially because he's not used to the new world. Now, who could I picture as Captain America? I would say maybe Brent Miller or Kirby Morrow. I don't know who exactly, but I guess either one. Now, he would meet Iron Man, and because Tony Stark in this show is more of a teenager, Cap would act as more of a mentor to Tony. Because, unlike the MCU, where they're like frenemies, here it's more of a mentor-student relationship. But they still don't see eye to eye with each other, like in most versions. I'd say Cap fights for the old way while Tony fights for the modern way. And they do come into disagreements. Cap believes that he should have died in the past, but Tony believes, no, you need to accept what happened to you. You need to move on and let go. And that does lead to some arguments. But I could see Tony teaching Cap on how to be a hero in the modern day. Yeah, I know some of you would say, Cap would teach Tony to be a hero. Nah, he's too late for that. So, Tony would teach Cap on how to be a hero in the modern day. Like stopping some criminals. Some of which would be villains like Killer Shrike and Unicorn. Maybe even Whiplash. And of course, Black Widow and Hawkeye would be there as well. Maybe they're the ones who free Cap. Or more likely Nick Fury. It just seems more likely for it to be the latter. Well, Natasha and Clint would put Cap up with Tony. Now, for who I wanted to go for the villain, it was tricky. But I decided to go with Baron Zemo. Yeah, I know some of you would have wanted Red Skull. Sadly, I wouldn't do Red Skull, because if a Captain America spin-off show were to be made, I'll talk about that later, honestly. But Baron Zemo would be the villain of the episode. Now, for who I could see as Baron Zemo, because this is the present day Baron Zemo that is more iconic, I would say maybe Michael Dangerfield or Colin Murdoch. Now, Zemo's motivation is that he not only idolized Red Skull, he wants to be like his grandfather, who was an associate of Red Skull's during World War II, when Hydra reigned supreme. And he blames Cap for the death of his grandfather. And so he would find his grandfather's old suit and put it on. And of course, while he initially considers finding Red Skull, he doesn't, because Red Skull is believed to have died during his final fight with Cap. So instead he sends out someone else. That would be Crossbones, who I could picture being played by Gary Chalk. Now, Crossbones and Zemo would be like Cap's first modern villains. And when Cap is fighting Crossbones, their fight would be almost similar to the one they had in Civil War. But when Crossbones brings up the name of Zemo, Cap is like, "What? I thought he died." Yeah, this is still a Cap who isn't fully adjusted to the present day, so he doesn't get how Zemo could still be alive. But after a discussion with Fury and Natasha, Cap discovers this isn't the same Zemo he fought in World War II. This is his grandson. And his grandson wants to be like his past villains, and so Cap knows what he must do. Stop his present villain. But he will need the help of Tony, obviously. And of course, Natasha and Clint also join in for the ride. Now, since you all know that I'm a Black Widow and Captain America shipper, I would leave like a little hint to Nat and Cap as a thing. I wouldn't outright say it, though. Like, I'd say maybe Nat could say something like, "Hey Cap, wanna talk?" Later, and Cap could say something like, "I guess." Now, as for the final battle, this would be Baron Zemo dealing with the super soldier serum and giving it to several different people. One of which would happen to be John Walker. Not sure I could see as John Walker, though. But the fight becomes big. Tony fights Whiplash. Yes, I think Zemo would have sought out Whiplash at some point. Nat and Clint deal with Crossbones and Bartrock. As for Cap, he faces Zemo. But before this, they fight the super soldiers. And Cap would fight Walker before defeating John. And then facing Zemo. Now, Zemo would have a sword, just so we can have some cool fight scenes. And then Armadillo would be there as well, and Tony would defeat Armadillo, but it wouldn't be without hardness. It wouldn't be without ease. Tony would get the upper hand at some point. But the rest of the other villains would be taken down easily. Like, I'd say Whiplash would be outsmarted by both Natasha and Tony, while Cap beats Zemo once Zemo finds out that the tides have turned. And of course, Zemo would be captured and would be placed in S.H.I.E.L.D. like Shield's custody or Shield prison, whatever you want to call it. However, Zemo begins playing out his return in case if he were to escape or when he escapes. But all in all, Cap and Tony decide to become good friends, and this is only the first step to possibly setting up the Avengers. But then the episode ended on a cliffhanger. Someone comes at Zemo's cell. The voice sounds familiar. As when Zemo asks the person who he is, the person takes off his face. And this would happen to be Red Skull, played by Mark Oliver. So that's what if Captain America was in Iron Man Armored Adventures. Now, could they have done a show about Captain America set within this universe? Yes, I think they could have. But there's a lot they could do with Cap. Not sure if it would be around 3 seasons or 2 like they did with Iron Man. I mean, there were several storylines they could do, like Serpent Society, Sentinel of Liberty, Winter Soldier, even World War II. All of those things. But anyways, I will see you all later. And happy 4th of July. Or happy Independence Day, whatever you want to call it. But still.